Hello ladies and gentlemen. So today we're going to look at our notes for week 2, which is graphing ordered pairs. So just a reminder of how you should be doing this. Here I have my notes document open from the assignment, the graphing ordered pairs assignment in Schoology. And then I should be using my split screen. Here's my split screen in order to watch the video on one side and take my notes on the other side. Okay, so that's what you should be doing. You should be watching the video, so listening to my voice as you are taking the notes. Feel free to pause, stop and start the video if you need more time to write something. Anytime you have a question, it'd be a really good idea to jot it in the margins. I'm not going to have split screen just because it's easier to see. And if you have any questions about that, you're going to be doing this every single week, so make sure if you have any questions that you let me know. All right. So let's get going with our graphing ordered pairs. So we're going to talk about something called a coordinate system, which is a two-dimensional number line broken down into 4 quadrants. Basically, a coordinate system or a coordinate plane is just this graph right here. Maybe you've seen it before, maybe you haven't, but this is a coordinate plane. Okay, and it's separated into 4 quadrants. So quadrant 1 is where we have x and y are both positive. Quadrant 2, we have a negative x and a positive y. Quadrant 3, x and y are both negative. And quadrant 4, you have a positive x and a negative y. Notice how it goes counterclockwise also. It goes from quadrant 1 to quadrant 4, like that. Okay, so this is a coordinate plane. Couple things about the coordinate plane. The horizontal axis, so here's the horizontal. Horizontal means from side to side. Right here, that is the x-axis. That is the x-axis. So anytime we talk about the x-axis, we're talking about that horizontal axis. The vertical axis, let me get a different color for my highlighter here. The vertical axis is up and down. So here's our vertical axis, and this is the y-axis. So we have our x and our y-axis. The very center of our coordinate plane, so right here, right dab in the middle where this arrow is pointing to, this is called the origin. The origin, because all of our ordered pairs originate. In other words, they start right there. So if you've ever heard of an origin story, it's talking about the starting point. So whenever we're graphing, we start or we begin from the origin. So that's where your x and y axis intersect. In other words, it's where x and y are both 0. So the coordinates of the origin are 0, 0. And coordinates, they are just a pair of numbers, all right? An x, y pair of numbers. Notice since we have the x and the y axis, our coordinates are always going to, we write them in parentheses like this, and we use a comma to separate our numbers. We're always given a number for x and a number for y. Okay, so let's practice a little more so this makes some more sense. So our ordered pairs, they give you the location of a point on the coordinate plane. So for example, the ordered pair 2, 8, it's telling us to go to 2 on the x for x and 8 for y. So we would go right or left for x, and we would go up or down for y. Okay, and that's our coordinate planes. That's how we're going to graph. So we would start at the origin. We'd go 2 to the right for x, right, since x is positive. If it was negative, we'd go to the left. And we'd go over or up 8 for our y coordinate. When it's positive, we go up. If our number was negative, we would go down. Also notice that our ordered pairs are alphabetical. So anytime you see an ordered pair, like 2, 1, 3, 4, feel free to make up your own ordered pair. It's always x and then y. So you always go from the right or left and then up or down. Okay. Let's practice a couple. So we want to graph the points in quadrant 1 where both x and y are positive. So graph the following ordered pairs. So we're going to start with the first ordered pair, 3, 2. Well, since they're both positive, that means we need to go to the right 3, and then we need to go up 2. So we're going to start in the origin. We're going to start right here in the middle. Okay, just so I'm just making these extra notes in orange so you know where you're supposed to be. Please don't write anything in orange on your graph. So this is just the origin, but not actually a point on my graph. So I need to go over 3. So to the right, 1, 2, 3. Notice how I moved over 3 squares. Here's 1 square, 2 square, 3 squares. And then I need to go up 2 squares. So up 1, up 2. So the point 32 is right here. It's where my x value of 3, here's my x value of 3, and my y value of 2 intersect. And that's really what you're finding with your coordinate points. You're finding these intersection points. So if you think about like a map, if you've ever tried to find a location on a map, you always have streets, right? So our school is on the corner of 40th Street and Veterans. Right, that's where our school's at, and we would, that's our intersection point. That's where those 2 streets intersect. That's where we would say our school is, okay? So that's kind of what we're doing with our ordered pairs. Basically, we're trying to find the intersection of like 3rd Street and 2nd Avenue. And for our particular map, that intersection would be right here. Let's practice the other ones. So we have the point 1, 6. Well, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to the right 1, and we're going to go up 6. So we're going to go to the right 1 square, and then go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. And that's the point. That's the only point we need to graph. It's that intersection of 1 and 6. Then we need to graph the intersection of 6 and 9. So we're going to go to the right 6, and we're going to go up 9. So here's 5, so over 1 more would be 6, and then we're going to go up 9. So here's 3, 6, 9, and that is how we graph our ordered pairs. We also want to graph the point at the origin, so that's right here in the middle. That's where we start all of our points from. So when it says your ordered pair, you always start from the origin, and then you go over and down or over and up, however far you need to find your next point. Okay, so we're going to do a couple more practice problems. If you have any questions right now, go ahead and jot them on the side so you can be sure to remember to ask them later. Okay, now we're going to graph in the second quadrant. This is where x is negative and y is positive. So we're going to graph our following ordered pairs. It's just instead of going to the right and then up, since x is negative, we need to go to the left. And then since y is positive, we're still going to go up. So we're going to start at our origin, and we're going to go to the left 2 and up 5. So to the left 2 squares and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. And then I'm going to make a point where 2, negative 2, 5 intersect. Okay, where negative 2nd Street and 5th Avenue intersect. That's my ordered pair. Well, then we've got negative 1, 8. So I'm going to go to the left 1 square and up 8 squares, and that would be right here. I'd like you to pause the video and see if you can graph negative 5, 5, and the point negative 3, 0. Well, negative 5, 5, we're going to go to the left 5 squares, and then we're going to go up 5 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's our point negative 5, 5, and then last but not least, we're going to go negative 3, 0. So we're going to go to the left 1, 2, 3 squares, but then since it's 0, we're not going to go up or down at all. We're just going to stay right on that x-axis, and those are our 4 points. Now we're going to graph in quadrant 3 where y and x are negative. So since they're both negative, we're still going to go to the left for x, but we're also going to go down for y. So the negative tells you the difference between negative and positive. It tells you if you're going to go right or left, and it tells you if you're going to go up or down. So we're going to start from the origin, and we're going to go find the point negative 2, negative 5. So to the left, negative 1, negative 2, and then down, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. And notice if you're looking at your axis, it doesn't have all of the numbers labeled, but this is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and then on my y-axis, this is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Okay, so all of the lines, all of these lines that are horizontal and vertical on there, they represent a number. We just don't write them because, as you can tell, it gets a little cramped when you put all of those little numbers there. Then we have -1, -7, so we're going to go to the left 1 square and then down 7. Now would be a good time to pause and see if you can graph those last 2 points on your own. So we have the point -5, -5, so I'm going to go to the left -5 squares and then down 5 squares. And that's my point -5, -5. And then last but not least, we want to go -3, -10. So we're going to go to the left -3 squares and then down -10 squares. And those are our ordered pairs. All right, last one we're going to graph points in the fourth quadrant where x is positive and y is negative. So since x is positive, we're going to go to the right, and since y is negative, we're going to go down. Okay, excuse me. So we want to graph the point 2, -5. So I'm going to go to the right 2 squares and then down 5 squares. Then we have the point 1, -7. So I start back at the origin and I go to the right 1 square and then I go down 7 squares. Be a good idea to pause and see if you can graph those last two. Well, 5, -5, we're going to go to the right, start at the origin, we're going to go to the right 5 squares and then down 5 squares. And last but not least, 3, -10, we're going to go to the right 3 squares and down 10 squares. And those are our points. We want to graph the point 0, -4 and figure out what axis does this point lie on. Well, start at the origin and we want to go to the right 0 and then down 4. Well, if we don't want to move to the right at all, we're just going to stay on this vertical axis, and then we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 points. So that'd be our point 0, -4. And if we're looking at it, do you remember what axis this is? The horizontal axis is x, the vertical axis is y. So the point 0, -4 is on the y-axis. If we want to put these points in an xy table, we're just going to put all the x's in the x column and all the y values in the y column, but we're going to make sure they're across from each other. Okay, so our points are across from each other. So 2, -5, 2 is my x, -5 is my y. 1, -7, 1 is my x, -7 is my y. Again, notice how they're in alphabetical order. 5, -5, 5 is my x, -5 is my y. 3, -10, 3 is my x, -10 is my y, and 0, -4, 0 is my x, -4 is my y value. So that is our table of values. It's just a different way of writing it. So instead of writing this list of ordered pairs in parentheses, we just have a different way of writing it in the table. They mean the exact same thing, they just look a little bit different. Last question, I'd like you to pause and see if you can finish this one up on your own. We just want to plot the points from the table. So we have the point 2, -6. So I'm going to start at my origin. I'm going to go to the left 2 and then down 6. Then we have the point 1, -5. So I'm going to go to the left 1 and down 5. Then we have the point 0, -4. So I'm going to stay on my y-axis but go down -4. Then we have 1, -3, so I'm going to go to the right 1 and down 3. And last but not least, we have 2, -2, so I'm going to go to the right 2 squares and down 2 squares. And notice how our points are in a line, right? We could draw a straight line right through those points. So notice that since these points make a line, these points are a special relation called a linear function. A linear function. And if you look at the word linear, notice that basically the root word is line, right? So linear function just means you have a straight line. That's the end of our notes for the day. We just practiced graphing those ordered pairs. So remember, you start at the origin. I'm going to write it down. You start at the origin, and then you go over, so up, left or right for over, and then up or down depending on the points to find your ordered pair, or to find the point on your graph. That's the end of your notes. So the rest of your job, you need to complete these practice problems. So here is your homework for the week. You're going to complete these, let's see, 6 practice problems. And then remember, when you're done, you're going to go back to Schoology into the assignment and submit it. Okay. If you have any questions, please message me right away.